The day I thought would be the happiest of my life became the day I almost died. My name is Emily, and for years I believed that no matter how cruel life became, a mother would always love her child. I was wrong. Growing up, my younger sister Olivia was always my mother's favorite. She received expensive birthday parties, new clothes, and endless praise. I received leftovers, old dresses, and criticism. Whenever relatives visited, Mom would smile proudly at Olivia. "Look at my beautiful princess." Then she would point at me. "And this one? She's too plain. She should be grateful anyone even talks to her." Everyone laughed. Even as a child, those words hurt more than any slap. My father tried to protect me, but after he passed away from a heart attack, there was no one left. Life became unbearable. At 18, I moved out with only a suitcase, worked 2 jobs, finished college at night, and slowly built a peaceful life. That's when I met Daniel. He wasn't rich, he wasn't famous, but he looked at me like I mattered. For the first time, someone loved me exactly as I was. When he proposed beside a quiet lake at sunset, I cried harder than I ever had. I thought my nightmare was finally over. I made one mistake. I invited my family. The moment my mother met Daniel, her eyes lit up, not with happiness for me, but with calculation. Later that evening, she whispered to Olivia, "He belongs with you." I laughed nervously. Surely she was joking. She wasn't. The next week, Olivia started texting Daniel. She sent glamorous photos, flirtatious messages, late-night invitations. Daniel ignored every one of them. Then she became bolder. She visited his office pretending she just happened to be nearby. He politely asked her to leave. That only made my mother angrier. One Sunday, she invited us to dinner. As soon as dessert was served, she stood up holding a glass. "I have an announcement." Everyone looked at her. She smiled. "Daniel has chosen the wrong sister." Silence. She continued. "Emily has never been attractive. Olivia deserves a successful man like him." Then she turned toward Daniel. "You still have time to cancel the wedding." The room became painfully quiet. Daniel slowly stood. "I do have something to say." My heart pounded. He walked beside me, took my hand, and looked directly at my mother. "I didn't fall in love with beauty. I fell in love with kindness. I fell in love with courage. I fell in love with the woman who survived everything you did to her." Then he looked at Olivia. "And I would never betray Emily. Not for anyone." The room froze. Olivia's smile disappeared. My mother's face twisted with rage. She stormed out without another word. I thought that was the end. I couldn't have been more wrong. 3 days later, I returned to my childhood neighborhood to collect the last few family photographs from the garage. Daniel offered to come. I insisted I'd be fine. As I opened the gate, I noticed my mother and Olivia standing in the driveway. Neither smiled. Mom stepped closer. "So he really chose you?" "Less. He'll regret it. He loves me?" She suddenly screamed, "No one chooses you over my Olivia!" Before I could react, she grabbed a construction brick lying beside the garden wall. Everything happened in seconds. She hurled it directly at my face. The impact exploded across my cheek. I collapsed instantly. Blood poured onto the pavement. My ears rang. Through blurred vision, I heard laughter. Actual laughter. Olivia covered her mouth while giggling. Mom looked down at me and said, "Maybe now he'll finally leave you." Those words echoed as darkness swallowed everything. When I woke up, bright hospital lights surrounded me. My face was wrapped in bandages. Daniel sat beside my bed, holding my hand with tears running down his face. "You scared me." Doctors explained that my cheekbone and jaw had fractured. Another inch, and the brick could have killed me. Police officers soon entered the room. A neighbor had witnessed everything through a security camera installed across the street. The footage showed my mother deliberately picking up the brick before attacking me. She couldn't claim it was an accident. She was arrested that same evening. Olivia tried defending her. "It wasn't intentional." The detective quietly placed the video on the table. Neither of them spoke again. Weeks passed. My surgeries were painful. Learning to smile again took months. The emotional scars were even deeper. One afternoon, Daniel wheeled me into the hospital garden. He knelt despite everyone staring. "I was supposed to marry you next spring." He smiled softly. "I don't want to wait anymore." From his pocket, he pulled out the engagement ring that had been carefully cleaned after the attack. "I've watched you survive your own family. I've watched you choose kindness instead of revenge. Will you still marry me?" I couldn't stop crying. "Yes." The nurses nearby applauded. Patients smiled. For the first time in years, those tears weren't from pain. 6 months later, my mother stood before a judge. The courtroom was silent as the security footage played. Every second of the attack, every laugh, every cruel word. The judge removed his glasses. "I have presided over many assault cases," he said. "But it is difficult to imagine a mother treating her own daughter with such deliberate violence." My mother received a lengthy prison sentence for aggravated assault. Olivia faced charges for attempting to interfere with witnesses and for lying during the investigation. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded me. One asked, "Do you hate your mother?" I looked toward the sky before answering, "No. Hate would mean she's still controlling my heart." I've finally taken that back. A year later, Daniel and I married in a small garden filled with white roses. No members of my biological family were invited. Instead, our guests were neighbors, coworkers, nurses, and friends who had become our real family. As I walked down the aisle, the scar across my cheek was still visible. The makeup artist had offered to hide it. I refused. That scar wasn't something to be ashamed of. It was proof that I survived. During our vows, Daniel gently touched my face. "This scar reminds the world what hatred tried to destroy. But every day you remind me that love is stronger." The years later, our little daughter asked about the faint mark on my cheek. I smiled and kissed her forehead. "Sometimes bad people hurt us, but we never let them decide who we become." She wrapped her tiny arms around my neck. "I'll always choose love, Mommy." So would I, because the brick my mother threw broke my bones. But it never broke my spirit. And in the end, the people who laughed at my pain lost everything, while I gained the family I had dreamed of my entire life.